Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final match of day one here at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship from Katowice, Poland. It is going to be the winners' matchup in Group B between Cloud9 and TPA. So before we get ahead of ourselves, let's remind you guys that we are active on Twitter and on Facebook, facebook.com/IEM, and of course using the hashtag IEM if you are on Twitter. Make sure you head to eslgaming.com, click on the Katowice, start voting on the polls. We'll get to those in a second. Cloud9 are blue side, TPA are red side for this matchup. We just seen Cloud9 winning, very exciting game. TPA won their previous matchup, also very exciting and one-sided. How do we judge this match coming in? Let's start with Froggen.
I think both teams look incredibly strong in the first game. Like pretty much stumping, like TPA stumped the Gambit and Cloud9 stumped the WE. So like, I'm not sure how strong they actually are because we didn't see too much action from either team. It was pretty much just a run through. So coming into this game, I think that picks and bans are really, really important.
If we're going to look at what made TPA so strong, it was their rotations. And why did they happen? Because they exploited the lack of early presence in the jungle and a bit of a mismatch in lanes and whatnot coming out of Gambit earlier today. What we saw from Cloud9 though is real well-prepared game plan. On top of that, Meteos' timings were incredible. The first 2 and 3 timing ganks he went for, I was not only agreeing with them, I was pretty surprised how well they worked out. Okay, questionable 4th one on the second dive on top lane, but that's to be forgiven. So his timing, he was on top of that game. So that's going to deny TPA these early rotations, provided that stays the same level. So we'll see a lot closer game.
Well, just before we carry on breaking this down, let's remind the viewers at home of exactly who are on both of these respective teams. Let's pull up that team sheet, starting with Cloud9. Balls in the top lane, Meteos in the jungle, high in the mid lane with Sneaky and Elimination as your AD carry and support. In the previous game, I discounted them. I did feel that the slightly more tested international team of WE may have bested them, and I was proven wrong. Of course, on the other side of the rift, it is going to be the Azubu Taipei Assassins. Aki in the top lane, Dinter in the jungle, Morning in the mid lane, Bebe, Jay is your AD carry and support. Let's be realistic, Ziggs is going to be banned, right? I really doubt Cloud9 is going to let this through. Maybe you have more insight? What do you think?
I can definitely see High playing just one of his signature assassins into the Ziggs and try and just get an advantage there. Sure, Ziggs is strong when he gets ahead, but you have to remember, you can get Ziggs behind. At the same time, I wonder how much time, like, they don't have much time to react. So very short-lived, short-term reaction is going to come out of TPA here to see what they can do to counter Cloud9. And I want to see which champions they target because they don't have that many bans.
Yeah, so if Cloud9 indeed are running the Assassin's mid, I would still love to see a lane swap coming out of TPA, which means they're going to be one-on-one against each other. And if Morning has 6, he looks incredibly strong and aggressive against Alex. So if the lane swap comes out and they can early siege in the mid lane, I think TPA is going to get out on top.
So let's take a step back and talk about this, potential of the 2v1s. We were discussing it as a possibility in the previous game. We've seen it a number of times over the course of today's games, especially in Group A. Now, we didn't see it in the previous matchup, and Meteos applied so much pressure. His first 3 ganks, they got summoner spells, they got kills, they really worked out. Having a 2v1, does that make Meteos' job easier or more difficult in getting Cloud9 control, considering the tempo of the game is very different?
I think Cloud9 is really good in lane swap situations because they have really well executed teamwork. Like, they always execute their dives extremely well. You saw it last game. The Shyvana used the ultimate to get out of the last terror hit before she died, and it was really, really well executed. So I don't think it's a disadvantage for Cloud9 to actually have the lane swap coming in. I just think it's going to make High's job harder in mid.
It all depends on how much of an aggressive jungler TPA is going to pick up. Meteos was playing Kha'Zix earlier into what I believe was Wukong, and Wukong is 1-6, is not that as aggressive of a ganker. He sure is a good counter ganker, but the way these ganks worked out for Meteos, they didn't leave much room of a counter gank. They didn't have an idea where Wukong is. Sure, it doesn't make his job harder necessarily, lane swaps. It makes it slightly more predictable. Lane swaps are slanted towards either going to be top the jungler or bottom. Either you defend or you dive. Very rarely do we nowadays see junglers go for the mid lane to try and surprise. But then again, it is a surprise factor. The problem is, though, when a lane swap is initiated, if Cloud9 has good push and good coordination, they will get the tower down a lot quicker than their counterparts will.
Yeah, now the players do have another 2 or 3 minutes before they are required to jump in this lobby, so we should getting picks and bans underway in a not too distant future. Let's put ourselves in the shoes of the Taipei Assassins. They've just watched Cloud9 playing. We're going to assume they've watched at least Super Week for Cloud9, maybe another week or 2 back worth of games. What do TPA need to do outside of a potential lane swap to shut Cloud9 down? Is it in picks and bans? Is it in playstyle? Let's start with Crepo, because you played against them. I think maybe you have a little bit more first-hand experience.
I mean, they just... If Cloud9 ends up playing Morgana again, which they may not, they need to know how to deal with it and just look at what's been working in other regions well against Morgan and not. And they just can't fall behind early. We're not assuming Cloud9 is the better one of these two teams. It's just whoever falls behind early will probably be suffering a lot of losses due to really good rotations coming out of both these teams. It's almost like snowballing out of control for both these teams. It's definitely up to the picks and bans and the early game.
Yeah, I think TPA in the picks and bans, it's really hard to ban out Cloud9. From my experience, whenever I watch them, they have really large champion pool, all of them. So what they should do, or what I think they should do, is ban all the champions they don't know, all the unknown champions. Ban them away from Cloud9. Make the game so you basically play off rotations and team fights. I think that's a good shot for them.
Well, that's a very smart idea. We'll see if TPA actually agree with that mindset. We should be throwing over to the casters in the not too distant future. Players are in the lobby. Let's start to lock in some of our predictions. Before we get to you guys at home have been voting. We do have that social vote. And if I look at the numbers, it is 68% of you guys sitting in favor of Cloud9. It's again, Western bias, the apple pie. I'm voting for Cloud9 after what I just seen. I think they played very well. Crepo, where are you going? TPA or C9? Who's going to pick up the victory?
I think TPA was really impressive, but it is March 14th, which is Pi Day, and there's no other way. Cloud9.
Ooh.
Just to make it interesting, I'm going to go with TPA.
I respect that.
Yeah, we will have to see. We're just going to wait to get that final word. Oh, and as I say that, it is going to be ready. So for this game, it will be Joe and Deficio to take you away for the final day, final game, group way. Oh, blah, screw it. Joe and Deficio, over to you.
Thank you very much, Quickshot. It's been a long day and an awesome day, to be honest, and we're not even at the end yet. Cloud9 versus TPA. The winner goes through in first position here from Group B.
And what an achievement it will be for Cloud9 now with the 3 European teams all losing the first games. If Cloud9, only American team we have, could go straight up to the semifinals, it would be absolutely fantastic for them and of course for NA.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we still have a possibility of another Fnatic versus Cloud9 encounter, which will be sick. But of course, they have to beat IG first of all. If you didn't catch that earlier, we will be doing that tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central European time, which is an hour earlier than we did plan to start. But because of the schedule changes today, we are going to be kicking things off a little bit earlier tomorrow with that awesome game. But for now, we're going to find out who wins Group B. It's Cloud9 versus Azubu Taipei Assassins. Into the bans and picks, what are we expecting, Deficio?
Well, Morgana ban for TPA, I'm not sure, but if they don't have anything they feel they can counter away, if they don't know how to play against it, they can just bend away. Okay, they just bend it away.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, good prediction by me.
You're doing your job, Deficio. That's what we all like to see. Thresh was taken away. Sivir going to be removed as well. Sivir being a constant factor, I think, today. And of course, we did see Sivir being played by Cloud9 in their victory over World Elite.
And they didn't actually ban it in the last game, despite him also being first pick. This time around, though, they have something else in mind. And they don't want to give TPA in the first rotation for them, in the first 2 picks. Give them the chance to pick Sivir. Banned away, don't want to deal with it. We saw how good it was last game. Of course, paired with the Morgana from Elimination. Bindings into Boomerang Blade. The lane was just so solid for them. But actually banned away, and also the Lulu. So potential first picks they're taking away. So they must really have something in mind here. Could be a Renekton.
Yep, and we also saw the Elise being taken away there from Meteos. No real surprise on that one. New hair color and still doing extremely, extremely well.
Ace-K6 play was impressive, to be honest. He was very, very strong. In the very last team fight, he jumps in, starts the whole thing and actually flashes out a little bit too aggressive, but it still meant that Cloud9 could come in there and just clean up the fight.
And then Shyvana just destroyed everybody's faces. Final ban out here on the red side is Kassadin. Interestingly enough, when Cloud9 got the Kassadin in the LCS, they played it, they won the game, but said we maybe overestimated how good Kassadin is. And, well, we've not seen impressive Kassadin today because he's played one game and he's lost it.
I honestly think both TBA and WE looked at the Super Week, saw the Kassadin pick, were like, we don't want to deal with it. We don't want to risk going against Kassadin, don't want to risk going into late game against this very good champion, so they just banned away. Even though Cloud9 openly said we don't really like him that much anymore, but they have first pick Kha'Zix again. This is the champion for Media's last game around where he was very, very strong. Good ganks early on, he forced the flashes, he forced the barrier from Wei Xiao down bot lane and also gave the advantage to his bot lane. So I like this first pick up, and Renekton actually is still open and not being picked by TPA, it looks like.
And is that going to be in the next round of picks here for Cloud9? I'd say it's actually pretty likely, considering how strong the Renekton is at this point.
Unless they feel the Shyvana pick is better for them than the Renekton, because Shyvana will outscale Renekton and they feel they can deal with it early on, and Balls can hold his own. Might be the idea behind him. Reason they didn't first pick Renekton. Instant locked it in.
Just saying. I did say that. It's all right, though. Caitlyn,
I didn't say they wouldn't pick it. I just said there was other options.
That's sneaky. Going to have the Caitlyn this time around, with that Sivir, of course, banned out by Cloud9. So TPA, they got the Ziggs. I'm sure you guys saw the post on Reddit, actually, that showed the damage charts after that game.
That was insane.
He basically did more damage than the entire team of Gambit put together. It was a very one-sided game, so you can kind of expect it to go that way, but it was a phenomenal performance from Morning.
And he was so strong that, of course, Cloud9, they knew he would pick it up. And they must have something ready against this Ziggs, because he was so good on it. He beat Alex 1v1, just killed him straight up at level 4 or something. And by the 90-minute mark, he was like 3,000 gold ahead of Alex, and he just completely dominated the entire game. And then Annie onto the support. We can hard engage. It's what they love to play with, and it's something the entire team is built around. The fact that support can come in, do the engage, and then the rest of the team can follow up.
Yeah, and a bursty combo at level 6 with that Ezreal to throw down his True Barrage and what have you as well.
Actually one of the best combos you have at level 6 when it comes to straight up damage, and also mobility onto Ezreal. He will have an issue killing Renekton though when it comes to teamfights. That's more or less the issue for Ezreal. He's not a tank killer, but if he can do really well in the laning phase, pick up a few kills together with Annie, he will be very, very strong, and he can build so many different paths that you don't actually really know what he's going to go for, and he can be very hard to deal with.
On the other side, we see a LeBlanc being picked up here for Cloud9 to go with high in that mid lane, and a Zyra, support Zyra here for the first time in the tournament. And, you know, with the fact that you're going to have that Mundo running at you the entire time, kind of stops that.
It stops it, and also if Annie engages in, like flash tapers in, you put the Zyra ultimate behind her, so the rest of the team is so on the way they actually have to turn around. Smart enough pickup, but there's not too many targets here where the Zyra ultimate should be doing too much. Ezreal is very mobile, hard to knock him up. Of course, Annie will do her upfront damage or stun, and that's more or less her job. Wukong, of course, will jump into the back line. Dr. Mundo doesn't really mean anything if he gets knocked up. So the Zyra in teamfights is going to be more for zoning than actually general knock-up or CC. Laning-wise, Zyra is still good. She's not as good as she used to be, where we had some nerfs to her Q and apply, and the early damage from it got reduced, but she's still very good at Rash. Onto someone like Annie. And if we look at the lineup from Cloud9 with LeBlanc pick now against Ziggs, I think it's a little bit risky, because Ziggs is very strong early on. He will be able to bully LeBlanc. Of course, there's kill potential for high, but he really needs to play this one perfectly.
Well, we'll see about that one. In terms of Zyra as well, we've touched on the support item changes. Spell Thief's Edge, is that a good item for Zyra at this point in the day?
I can definitely see him going Spell Thief, because your plant will also proc it. All the damage you can do down will actually proc it, give you some extra goals, and you have very long range on Zyra, so you can get the auto attacks in, land a Q from a distance. So I can see him definitely build it early on for the extra ability power. We'll see actually if Annie does the same to try and counter it.
Well, we are going to be loading into the game. Cloud9 coming in off the back of a very, very impressive win against Team WE. Let's not forget, a team that is doing statistically better by quite a margin than IG over in the LPL. And IG, to be honest, although they're in the kind of playoff game to come through into the playoff stages, they are looking ridiculously good. So Cloud9, with that win for me, possibly the most impressive team we've seen today.
Yeah, they really showed how strong they are, and also how good the NA scene is at the moment, because they only the second team in NA. TSM is still #1, so the fact they come in here, have such a good performance, really shows how the whole scene stepped up, and of course how Cloud9 stepped up. And they also showed to me that WE, once they didn't win the laning phase, they really had issues. The team fights were very questionable for them. They jumped onto the wrong targets with Yasuo, and didn't actually do anything once the laning phase was over.
So here we go then, in-game Cloud9 versus the Taipei Assassins, to find out exactly who is going to be moving on in first position and who's going to have to drop down to play more games as we go through tomorrow. At the moment though, you can see the standard level 1 spread out here. We didn't really touch on any lane changes. Will we see any swaps in your opinion?
I can definitely see a swap happening here, so they want to have Morning 1 versus 1 against High, and then they think he can actually beat him there with the Ziggs like we saw against Alex. So if they swap there, they force the jungler to either be top lane to try and push down the turret or get a dive in, or be bot lane to try and defend. So it could potentially see them lane swap here, and also because if they don't want to deal with this Zyra Caitlyn, very pokey lane, very long range and very hard to deal with early on. At level 6 though, you can all in Zyra. She will be squishy, especially with the Spell Thief, so you can pop a Tippers, Ezreal ultimate and get a kill, but before that, there's a lot of poke coming in from Cloud9 side.
Really excited to see how this one actually goes with Taipei Assassins playing so well against Gambit. It wasn't even a contest, was it? It was such a one-sided victory for TPA. We'll see if they can do the same here, or better, who knows, against Cloud9.
And we need to see how Cloud9 will handle this top lane, because they have the Renekton here. He's the lane bully against Dr. Mundo, a very slow laner, also bringing teleport. Simply means that with Ignite onto Renekton, he will have so much pressure early on. He will be pushing down Dr. Mundo pretty much all the time, unless we actually have a lane swap. Seems not, because Dr. Mundo will just teleport up top here, and then the bot lane will run down to Caitlyn and Zyra, so they just take away the red buff onto Ezreal actually. Very strong early level 1 for him.
That is a very good start for them. Meteor's not going to have a red buff. The red buff over on the TPA side was taken by Dinter on that Wukong. So both red buffs secured here for TPA, and we'll see how that red buff in lane affects this matchup.
And poor Meteor's last game, he also lost the buff at level 1. Same thing here now. He's actually at his blue, doing Wolf. Have to run all the way down. He knows the buff is gone. Red buff onto Ezreal now. We need to see how Cloud9 will handle this early on. It seems though they're not really scared of it, just going straight up harassing early.
And we did see that Spell Thieves coming out there for Lemon Nation on Zyra. Doran's shield start on the other side for Jay on Annie. And I still think not a bad decision overall, because Zyra can harass so well.
Yeah, I like it because Zyra is so focused on also auto-attacking in the lane, where obviously the Doran shield is still blocking some damage. You still have some health regen. It is nerfed from 10 to 6, but it's still there. And of course, the HP, you get 80 HP from the Dawn Shield. You got 100 beforehand, so it's still very good early item if you're against the poke lane. We actually see Wukong coming down very early here. Might try and get a gank in, but the bot lane for Cloud9 are in a pretty good position.
And we can see Lemon Nation and Sneaky slightly backing away from that one there, so exactly not going to get in there is Dinter, to put it bluntly. And actually, we are seeing in the mid lane there, Morning going incredibly low. High also had his passive pop there, as Dinter is going to go in on top of High. There is a flashback from High, but Dinter not able to follow on at this stage.
I'm actually a little surprised that Morning is having Ignite. Normally, when you have the LeBlanc against Ziggs, you see the Ziggs bring barrier, because it simply means that he can just focus on harassing the LeBlanc, and if she ults in, you have the barrier to help you out. He's going Ignite though, so very aggressive. And on the other side here, High actually had to use both the Flash and the Ignite. Both summons ready on Morning, and they're going on balls.
Going on to balls, he's going to get slowed in there, but still, that's the problem. Basically, we see it there, what the disadvantage almost of Wukong is before he gets to level 6, that he has no real crowd control to lock up those ganks.
Yeah, and with Dr. Mundo, he's obviously relying on him landing the favor, but there's double dash, and now the Flash was used by balls, but there's a lot of tools for him to actually escape away when there is no hard CC. And nice snare from Lemon Nation, getting some good poke.
Good poke back down, Lemon Nation running out of mana there. It's Morning here, going to get pressured once again. He has to flash away. The chains don't land onto him, but again, a flash burn in that mid lane, and wouldn't surprise me to see Meteors coming back into that one with only the satchel charge now for Morning to rely on.
Yeah, very aggressive start onto Morning. They really want to shut him down early, want to get LeBlanc going, because if you fall behind to LeBlanc, it's very hard to do anything, because he can always jump in your face and burst you. And again, there's no barrier onto Morning, so he won't be able to have the additional HP or shield to actually help him out if High should jump onto him.
Yeah, and we saw in his matchup against Karthus that when that Karthus comes towards you, usually you're going to take a step back and try and avoid his damage. He went straight forward, went in there with the damage, fit in with the Ignite that he was running there rather than the barrier that we may have expected. So he's looking for that. Harder to do against a LeBlanc though, there's no doubt about that.
But that's why it's so smart what Cloud9 is doing. The early gang from Meteors, of course, to force the Summoner, and the very aggressive play from High early on where he's using the Ignite. It's actually one thing Bjergsen was talking about, how the NA mid laners, they like to Ignite early just to apply pressure in the lane and force you to more or less flash out or at least back out of the lane.
Well, so far Morning is still ahead in CS despite that flash being used, and despite all that early pressure coming out from High. If we check on the other lanes as well, top lane in particular, Renekton versus Mundo, 31-29 CS. Double Doran's Blade coming out there for balls. And again, I mentioned it earlier on when we saw the Renektons. That early pressure you get from stacking up a couple of Doran's items, going to be good against, especially against a Mundo at this stage of the game.
It's going to be very good against Mundo, but Cloud9 have to use the advantage to get top lane to either go up and dive him with meteors and kill him, or have high roaming up there and kill the Dr. Mundo. Because if you just leave him to farm, yes, he will fall behind in CS, but he will get some farm and he will get very, very tanky early chain waste, so he will stop a lot of the damage from balls. We could see High actually roaming up if he keeps this pressure going in the mid lane, because once you push up the wave, he can then roam up top and force a dive onto Dr. Mundo, pop the ignite on him when he pops the ultimate and just kill him.
And in the last game, we heard a lot of praise for the Cloud9 bottom lane. They are not messing around this time either. 53 to 39 CS there. Sneaky having the advantage. And actually, we're going to be seeing Wukong heading down there. Still not quite level 6, though.
But this bot lane, just as we talked about Caitlyn, Zyra, you have so much early game poke onto Ezreal and Annie, and there's little they can actually do because they can't all in you before the level 6 mark. So up until level 6, we need to see though if TBA won't then turn around, potentially having Wukong coming down with the Cyclone, with the Tibbers, and then the Ezreal ultimate, you will instant pop Zyra.
So first buy coming in for that bottom lane, as we see in the mid there. Talked about Morn only having the satchel charge to rely on. Apparently enough for him in that one as he jumps away from the damage of High. Meteos, though, coming around for the red buff. He's looking to deal some revenge onto that start from TPA.
Very good move by Cloud9, rotating up to the red buff. Because High is having all the pressure in the mid lane, he forced Morning to satchel charge away. He's very low on mana as well. So to take in full control of the fact they have Renekton and LeBlanc winning the mid lane. So if a fight should have been breaking out, they would have been stronger and just collapsed onto TPA. Good move by Cloud9.
And the fact is, at level 1, it was Ezreal, Annie, and with the help of Mundo that went in there and stole the Cloud9 red buff. They can't do that at this point. They can't get past the Caitlyn Zyra, who's definitely ahead of them. BF Sword already picked up for Sneaky on Caitlyn here. And there is the first blue buff of the game going to be going over towards High in this mid lane. We'll see if that allows him any extra harass here onto Morning.
And with the blue buff, he can be so aggressive because the cooldowns are shorter, he has the mana regen he needs to constantly go into space, and he's actually going towards this top lane now. Wanna dive Dr. Mundo, there was a ward on him though, so he's spotted, and Akin, he just backs away.
Yep, moving straight away from that one, realizing that he just can't stick around at this point. There was the blue buff just given over on towards Morning. He was in the same position, going to be able to spam a lot more out in that mid lane, and that will probably allow him to really bring the CS back, especially since High now having to recall picked himself up that Fiendish Codex.
And once again, we see the jump from Meteos being involved as the first. It is the E, so he will be able to get the reset in team fights. I like this. Especially because Cloud9 with LeBlanc will have a lot of upfront burst damage. Someone will drop low or just die instantly, or then Meteos can come in, get the kill himself, get the reset, and continue going. So I like the style for Cloud9 here, doing pretty much everything perfect. LeBlanc, the roam from High up to top lane, meant that now Mundo had to back off. Turret for Cloud9 for balls, and also winning the mid lane due to the good early pressure here, and also with him forcing the summoners with help from Meteos.
Great positional play there. This bottom lane, despite the big CS lead, has been played very safe by TPA. Actually, as I say that, they start to move forward on towards Sneaky Zyra. Is the plants causing a few problems?
But this was the point we talked about. The level 6 for Ezreal and Annie. This is where you need to be careful when playing against them. So we saw Cloud9 playing very, very safe, moving back. But Meteos, he's moving in here. Was spotted out by ward though, so TPA instantly moved back.
Moving back, and maybe, of course, with that Arcane Shift, going to be a little bit safer from that one as well. Meanwhile, do actually see Wukong starting to move in there as well. Cyclone now available for Dinter. He's hit level 6, and we know that's when he starts to get the pressure on. But is it safe to be going under turret when you've got a Zyra there?
Going under turret can be risky, but Zyra is not level 6 yet, so they will be able to pop her instantly. And there's no ward in this area here, so with a flash Tibbers from Annie, they can start all the Cyclone going in here.
There they are going to go in there. Tibbers comes down. Everything comes down. First blood for the Taipei Assassins. Almost looked too easy for them. Perfect combo.
Almost looked like it was predicted because it was just straight from the book here for TBA. Got the ultimates, got the CC, got the damage, went bot lane, popped the Zyra, who wasn't level 6 yet, instantly died, and now they can rotate to this dragon.
However, there is a Kha'Zix hanging around. LeBlanc just off on the top side as well. That dragon still at about half HP. Will Meteos risk jumping in for this one for the steal? Yes, he will. And they managed to get it as well. In fact, it was actually Caitlyn that stole it.
Whoa. Well, that's a dragon for Cloud9. It couldn't be more perfect for them. They were supposed to lose this dragon because we had elimination dying in the bot lane. It should be an easy dragon for TBA. Instead, over to Cloud9, and that is a big deal.
a big deal. That would have swung the gold right back even, and we now see that High is coming up into this top lane. Arcade is now level 8, as we are going to see the damage coming down. The stun comes in as well. Have they got the finisher? Ultimate use. High picks up the kill.
Very nice play by Cloud9 and High, but look here again. What he's doing, he's pushing up the mid lane and then he's just roaming. He knows that Dr. Mundo is going to be pushed down to the turret. There's nothing he can do to push out against Renekton. So Paul is just executing him every single time they have the chance.
And they're sticking around here for the inner turret. There's no real response from TPA. Already half of the turret's health is gone here. And they've got still 3 minions with them. They're going to be able to pick this one up. That is a very well played move from Cloud9. It puts them 3,500 gold in the lead here. Just 11 minutes 42 in. Meteor's covered that mid lane, so the tower didn't really take too much damage either.
Exactly, and while High has been falling behind in CS now, it doesn't matter because he's roaming elsewhere, he's making plays, picking up a turret for them, picking up the kill of course. And Meteors, as long as he's going mid, every time High is roaming away, the farm isn't wasted and Meteors can try and defend the turret against Morning. So very good play wall, but also credit to TBA for the move they did early on. They did lose the dragon though, so it wasn't actually worth it.
I think maybe say that was great from Cloud9 rather than
of course
bad from TPA. I mean, you can only do so much to make sure you're safe, and that range of Caitlyn there pretty much just outdoing them when they were distracted with Meteor diving in there on that backside. But we are going to see the first couple of items coming out as well. Tiamat for Renekton with the Giant's Belt. Needlessly large rod moving up to that DFG, which makes High's potential moving around the map even stronger, and a Bloodthirster for Sneaky.
Very strong items, especially the DFG on LeBlanc. Getting it this early is a big power spike because it means you can pop pretty much everyone. Even the Dr. Mundo, if he goes up there, once again with Renekton, instantly pops him down, just kill him. So like this item build he's going for, he will be a little bit more squishy if he gets caught out. So he's putting a lot of effort, or at least putting a lot of pressure into his own position in team fights.
And we actually see that Morning is recalling there. Did use his ultimate to completely clear that wave as early as possible so that he can afford to recall and not take too much damage on that outer middle turret. Meanwhile, High up by the enemy blue buff. He saw the ward go down. Well, simply use that sweeping lens to clear things out. And a lot of pings going down around the area from TPA. Now we see Erkei once again in a lot of trouble. Meteors and Paul's going to be diving in top of him. He's popped his ultimate. It's going to get him or keep him alive for a little bit longer here, but you have to say just a matter of time before that Mundo actually goes down. Doing a good job of hitting those point-blank briefcases, but it's Balls that picks up the kill.
And again, Cloud9, they have Renekton against Dr. Mundo and they just use it perfectly. The dragon was gone, so that there were no objectives for them to lose. Meanwhile, the Wukong is moving slightly towards the bot lane, but doesn't seem like he's going to do anything, just go up to this blue, so they will be able to get the blue buff. But once again, Mundo dies in the top lane. Cloud9 just using the advantage they have with Renekton.
You see that, despite that ward from early on, Morning is going to get his hands on that blue buff. So no steal on that front. High going to get some damage off onto the turret, and you see that Morning, he's just hanging back from this one, especially the fact that Balls has started to come around. So far with this one, a good little rotation coming out for Cloud9 with that inner turret going as well. In fact, High's going to dive in there on towards Dinter, and that is the kill. High not with that DFG finish just yet, but he's still got the damage to do it.
And a very good deep wards from Cloud9 spots out Wukong so he can get the kill here. And look at the ward placement for them. They have 3 wards in this area of the jungle. Now on the top side they have 2 more wards. It simply means they can roam everywhere they want because they have full vision of TPA, and now they can take the bot turret. Their early game for Cloud9 is just perfect.
Not a kill, but it doesn't matter. That really wasn't the objective there. It was to force them off that tower, get the easy kill. The third one of the game here for Cloud9. Already up to the inhibitor turret in that top lane, and that's, well, that just shows you how much of a bully this Renekton is when he has someone to go up there to help him. Really, he couldn't do anything about that one. He had to back away. They had to lose those turrets.
And also, just look what they always do in Cloud9. Every single time they have the chance to move Meteor's mid lane so he can get some lane farm, they do it. That's why he's constantly pulling ahead in CS. And it's so good on Kha'Zix because you need items. You want to have Brutalize, you want to have Last Whisper so you can really start doing damage in the team fights. So like the way they do it. And we just have to highlight once again, look at the vision control for Cloud9. They have the pink wards on the defensive side, so they have full vision in this area. And of course, they have all the deep wards into the jungle of TPA. So with the DFG now onto High, he can just roam wherever he wants. And if he spots out Wukong, if he spots out Ezreal or Annie or Ziggs, he's just going to pop them instantly.
We see that Sneaky gone for even more damage here, picking up that pickaxe We'll see if he goes straight in towards that last Whisper. Meanwhile, Blue Wolves do come up, and High is going to have that one. DFG is now done for him on the roam. We've also got that Hex Drinker now done for Meteor. So nice little spike in damage. Everything really going to plan so far for the American side.
And we have some early magic damage and magic penetration onto Elimination. So he really wants to help in this snowballing. He wants to have some damage in the team fights. And look at High.
There is the DFG already put down. There is a stun. Is he going to be able to follow up? No, he's not. But he's going to force him once again out of that lane. It means more turret damage.
And he can do this every single time Morning walks down the lane. He can just jump onto him, force him back. And now he can actually maybe take up this turret because Mundo, he's far away. He's not even actually moving towards mid lane. Or is he?
I think he is, but he's going to be slow to get in there. We've seen Cloud9 pushing up that bottom lane. Once again, a solid almost 40 CS lead for them on that front, and now we can see a move for Dragon.
And this is so risky if TPA wants to fight. Wisely enough to back away because you had Mundo far away, Tilwas was up, yes, but then you had Ziggs, had to go to base, had to run back in, and also because Cloud9 are so far ahead, they have so many early key items. Even the magic damage onto Syra is actually meaning a lot in the early stages.
We have a 6,000 gold lead for Cloud9 as High is going to dive in once again. And Morning sees half of his HP just disappearing, and there is turret number 4 for Cloud9. All the outer ring is now taken down. And to be honest, TPA are almost feeling the opposite of what they did to Gambit a little bit earlier on today.
And the worst thing for them now is that actually, oh, the Tibber's coming.
Tibber's coming in on towards Lemon Nation. He actually walks into the True Shot barrage, dodges the Q, but dies anyway. That was the Ignite actually coming down from Jay that got the kill.
So one thing still works for TBA, the Tibbers into Ezreal ultimate combo that we talked about in Champ Select. So much damage, and again, Elimination is the target. He's very, very squishy, so to take him down, can actually get towards his turret. I don't think so, because the rest of Cloud9 are here.
Yep, and there we do, in fact, see Balls dive right into the middle. Sackle charge will knock him off. Dinter gonna run the Cyclone as we see the bomb come over. Lands on towards Sneaky, but High right in the back there. Does manage to pick up the kill on toward Wukong, and they're gonna keep going from this one, surely. Balls actually starts to fall a little low, and they realize, okay, we can't keep going from it, but we'll pick up the kill.
And that was only 4 members from Cloud9 going in for the fight here. Elimination, he's coming back now. He will join in with the team to help defend this turret. But Cloud9, every single time they fight, High is there. He will pop someone, and we saw him just kill Wukong.
He pings to fall back because High is coming in. He goes on towards Morning. Well, again, use that satchel charge just to dive as far away as possible. And he keeps getting caught up in the grasping roots as well. And he loses half of his HP.
And here's what Cloud9 are doing. They're moving Renekton up to the top lane to just push down the lane, and then they keep the rest of the members here in the mid lane, pushing it up with Sneaky, of course, with Elimination, clearing the wave all the time. And then you have High just, whenever someone is close to try and clear the wave, he'll just jump into your face and harass you. And if you go too low, there's the ultimate from Sneaky to finish you off, or just the rest of Cloud9.
Oh, they're going in onto Mundo. DFG was used. Here comes Dinter from the side, though. But he's not got the damage. Sneaky did use the net, the last of his mana, really, to get himself out of danger. And that is more damage coming onto that mid turret. And just showing that Mundo, whilst he is tankier than the rest of them, he still can't really stand and bang when High gets involved.
No, he never really had the chance to get all the items or the farm he needed, because every single time he actually tried to get some CS up in the top lane, someone from Cloud9 went up there, killed him, made sure he couldn't actually get a lot of farm, and that's also why Balls is so far ahead in CS, and also the 2 turrets down in top lane.
178 to 125 on that front. There is some fire cape along with the Tiamat now. Brutalizer also picked up for Meteos on Kha'Zix, and the last Whisper for Sneaky. So everything coming to plan. We talked about the power spike earlier when the DFG and Bloodthirster were done. There's a little bit more now added in.
A little bit more, and Cloud9 are just extending the lead. They're doing so well with everything. Not taking any chances, actually. They're not going in for a risky team fight. They've been playing it very smart on the map, using the vision they had, and also used the fact that their champions at the moment are stronger. That's why they're splitting up here. Kaden all the way up in the top lane, with Elimination and High as backup, and only Ziggs is up there. He can actually push it all the way down to the turret, because Balls, he's keeping the rest of the team down here.
Yeah, I think Morning's going to have to be forced to use his ultimate here if he's not careful, because if he's alone there, they will have a go at him. Meanwhile, Balls getting somewhat caught down on the bottom of Meteos, diving in on towards Annie. Actually, a good stun coming in. Ultimate use here by Meteos. Will he be able to jump away? There's his second activation. Flashes over the wall. Safe. Flash use, though.
And he's playing very aggressive, but he can do it because his ultimate is involved, so he gets the extra stealth. He has 1 more second now also in the 4.3 patch. Simply use it to get away here, even though he actually went onto Annie, but didn't have the damage to kill her.
Cloud9 back on towards that inner turret in the mid lane as well. Top's already gone down, let's not forget, as Balls and Aki going to go head-to-head here in this bottom lane. This will be interesting to see. Ultimate actually popped there by Balls. Doesn't want to go underneath that turret, but just showing he can still force this Mundo out.
Now, Cloud9, it is of course hard to push against the Ziggs. Ezreal doesn't really provide any direct wave clear, but at least from a distance he can shoot his Q in, hit the first minion, and then as long as he has time he can actually get a lot of damage onto his minions, and then obviously combined with the bombs from Ziggs, it can be hard for Cloud9 to push. They can be forced to actually have Taipei moving out of the base, maybe setting up a Baron or diving in under the turret to get the kills they want, because at the moment Taipei are just staying very far back and just trying to farm up.
Well, they certainly can't afford to go into the top side of their own jungle right now. They lost that inner turret in the top lane. The wards are all belonging to Cloud9 right now. And that's pretty much down. Yeah. Dead. That's going to happen when you've got no vision and you try and get it back. Cloud9, you're going for Baron.
And that's the perfect thing, because they're constantly pushing up the top lane and having wards in the jungle of TBA. So Hai was just waiting for someone to try and go up top to clear the wave. And yeah, 2 people doing Baron. The rest of Cloud9 are just pushing in again. Nothing TBA can do to stop this one.
2-man Baron from Meteos and Balls at this point, and that is going to be getting finished off as we see the inner turret in the mid lane going down. That's picked up by the rest of them. Even if TPA know that this Baron's happening, they cannot do a thing to stop it, and that will be more than 10,000 gold already, 22.5 minutes into the game.
And this is how you snowball a lead. You get a hit on LeBlanc, you have very strong early game, you have Meteos coming in there, helping out Hai so that he gets ahead, and then he just rotates around the map, providing pressure everywhere. Every single time Balls was close to Mundo, they just went up there, killed Dr. Mundo, and they're just taking full control of the map. Full credit on the vision control, full credit on rotation from Cloud9, and they will pick up this dragon as well.
Yeah, and timing, we can add to that one here, because they're right on the mark. As the dragon comes in, that will be absolutely destroyed, and that is just more gold to spend. 11,000 now that they have in the lead, and that's going to be some big items. They got pretty much 2,000 to spend for each man as they go back. That's going to be a void staff for Hai, as if he wasn't dangerous enough already.
I don't think he can kill people any faster, especially not Annie. If she's face checking again, she instantly dies like we saw before, and that's again what Cloud9 can just push up these lanes. Balls need to be careful though, because he's actually all alone. The rest of Cloud9 has recalled. If he gets caught up here, he might be able to go down, and then the rest of Cloud9 can't really get anything on the map because they're not in a position to push a turret.
Well, can they defend at this point, TPA? I mean, Morning is obviously going to be able to clear those waves out decently, but if you look at his items there, the Athene's Unholy Grail, blasting one, really not got much, as Balls is going to go a little bit too deep, or is he? He's Renekton. He just slices and dices over the wall.
Yes,
he's going to be breaking some time here. Dinter is actually going to go low, but manages to get away for now at least with that decoy. There is a follow-through. Baby is going to get stunned up. Can they finish him off? Yes, they can. Hai unstoppable. A kill for Balls. This is going to be another inner tower.
So Balls baiting out everything. He actually flashed the wall. Wukong followed him. The rest of Cloud9, they were in the mid lane. They moved instantly towards him. And notice Hai, he popped the chain onto Pepe, and then he flashed over the wall so the chain would proc, stun, or snare up Pepe, and then just instantly burst him down. So very nice play. And again, Cloud9 just using the tools they have to snowball this game. Absolutely perfect.
Turret does go down. Lemon Nation finishing that one off as Jay has to back away completely from that. He cannot stay at the front of that one. They do throw Ziggs ultimate in there to try and clear out that wave, but honestly, they might just want to tank this one up, get that first inhibitor turret of the game down. No, now with Baby moving into this one, they decide against it, but they go on towards Mundo. He drops low, has to pop the ultimate.
And there's no ultimate on Ziggs, there's no ultimate on Wukong, no ultimate on Annie, no ultimate on Dr. Mundo. They will be able to get this turret and even push on to the inhibitor.
No ultimates on anyone.
Yeah, that's probably easier to say.
Yeah, that would have covered it, but they are going in for this one right now. Hai just waiting off at the side, seeing who he can catch. If that lands on towards Baby,
they actually backs off.
He's in a lot of trouble. Yeah, they do back off from that one. And I think from Cloud9's point of view, they're so far ahead. 13,000 gold almost. No need to take any risks.
And Teams actually don't back off, they just wanted to pick up the blue buff. The rest of them are staying around here, pushing up the lane. And yeah, of course, as you just said, you don't have to take any risk at this point because you're so far ahead. Your combo is so strong at this point. If there's a team fight, Cloud9 will win it.
And it won't be much of a fight. That's the real problem, I think, from TPA's side of things. And it's somewhat scary, the fact that TPA destroyed Gambit, and now they're being destroyed by Cloud9. points to some worrying signs if you meet Cloud9 a little bit later on in the tournament. We are seeing a bit of a split push here going on as High just pushes out that mid lane. The rest of the team is pushing still on towards that inhibitor turret. We are going to see Ace in the hole go through, lands onto Morning. Half of his health is taken away from that. He does have his ultimate available, so we'll be able to clear out if they are needed once again. But even at this stage, Balls is still tanky enough to go in. There's a dive on towards Baby, almost taken out.
And Cloud9 are just waiting to get that one pick so they can get a kill onto TBA and then move in towards the turret and inhibitor. This time around, High actually went in with the full burst when there was no minion wave, so they couldn't push in for the turret, even though Bebe had to back to the base. There is now the minion wave though. It's being cleared very fast by Zex, so it's hard for them to get into the turret, but they can just stay around here and then try and get a kill like we saw before with High.
There's High going in once again here on towards Baby. If Meteos follows him in there, that is a definite kill. If they go onto someone like Ezreal or onto Annie or Ziggs, even Wukong, I think, is up for the grabs at this point of the game. No one really safe from that combo.
No, but we actually saw Meteos not jumping with him because they want to play a bit safe. He doesn't want to go too all in. If there is a flash or the E from Ezreal away from him, all of a sudden Meteos is stuck in the middle of the enemy base and he will, or he could potentially go down, and then TBA actually have a chance of at least a small comeback. So I like the fact they're just waiting for High to get the kill, or at least force them to constantly go back and get a bit of damage onto the turrets.
Yep, High doing decent amounts for a LeBlanc auto-attacking a turret at this point. The rest of the team actually coming across. There's the Ace in the hole. It connects on towards Spirit. Half health again, taken away. He's going to have to go back and heal. Actually, High having a few problems with the minions there, doing a little bit too much damage to him. I mean, what's the solution here for TBA? Just to defend your base and hope that Cloud9 make a mistake?
Yeah, TBA can wait. This is why actually we see Sneaky not going towards the turret, because if he moves in to attack the turret, you have the flash tables, of course, you have the Wukong ultimate, you just instantly try and pop him. That's why he's staying back. That's what TBA needed to actually happen. Cloud9 to make a misstep, be a little bit greedy, either diving in or trying to get the turret, and then they could just pile onto them with their all-in combo to have here, because again, if they catch a target with the tables, with the ultimate from Wukong, they have a lot of instant damage.
Top lane was pushing in towards the base as well, and Team Mundo just heading off to do that one. We also saw some items being picked up on that last shopping trip. Kha'Zix's Last Whisper, Caitlyn, Phantom Dancer, Renekton, Spirit Visage. Again, a big spike in power for Cloud9. The question is, how are they going to finish this game? They had that last Baron. Will it be a case for waiting for a second? They're currently 13,000 gold in the lead.
Yeah, they can do the same where they move into the jungle of TBA, ward it up, and then if someone face checks, someone like High, they just instantly blow him up. And he's actually in a very good position here, but he's having very little amount of vision down here, so he needs to be a little bit careful. He doesn't actually face check TPA.
3 of them sat waiting in the brush there by a red buff. Oh. I started to move in there, but I think, why is it, if you're going to be playing it safe, why would you ever be thinking about face checking a bush?
Exactly, but it's what TBA wants him to do, because that's, again, a way they can actually come back. If they can get a pick onto Cloud9, maybe take a Baron from there, they will be able to get some gold back, and also, with the Baron buff, they might be able to teamfight Cloud9, even though they're so far behind.
Eventually, TPA get a little bit bored of waiting there in that one. Baron is going to be, or is now on the map again. And we see a challenge for that red buff. Sneaky doing good damage to that one. Actually does go over to Sneaky as well.
Ultimate actually used from Ezreal. He didn't manage to pick it up, but he really wanted to get this red buff. And now Cloud9, every single member is around here, putting down the wards, getting the vision, and meanwhile, is actually starting Baron here, or Mete's just waiting in there? He's just waiting in the pit for now.
Sat waiting, but with Balls and Sneaky there, they can absolutely hammer that Baron down. They've got the control of Lemon Nation and the constant blow you up damage threat from High, as we are going to see them start to move into this one. The ultimate goes down from Zyra. Balls gets knocked up there, and Baby having to flash away, but Meteos actually chasing in. That's a good satchel charge. Lemon Nation has actually gone down there, and we can see that High now going in on towards Arky. Will they be able to finish him off? Yes, they will. Double kill, 3 for 1 in favor of Cloud9.
He jumped into it.
Yeah. He jumped into it. That's, okay, a shutdown, which is definitely not bad at this point.
It actually means now
gold.
that TBA can try and stop this Baron.
But can they? Sneaky is so far ahead of them right now. Morning going to be able to put down some good damage. Baron is falling very, very low. They do get in there. They do kill off Sneaky. There's a kill for Meteos, and now they're going to try and track down Baby, but will he be able to actually kite him around? No, Balls backs away. Baron stays alive.
So TBA actually managed to stop the Baron here, delay the game a little bit. The teamfight itself, we actually have Meteos jumping into the face of both Ziggs and Ezreal in the last fight, pretty much all alone. And he couldn't actually kill him, but he didn't die either. Meanwhile, the rest of TPA, or the rest of Cloud9, were trying to kill Wukong, were trying to kill Dr. Mundo, and actually ended up losing a member to it. But then they picked up a few kills until Hai actually jumped into the ultimate of 6.
First turret of the game for TPA has just been picked up successfully by the minions down in that bottom lane. First one of the game, and that gold lead not really getting any easier for them to be dealing with in this one, as Lemon Nation just clearing out Baron once again, and TPA know that if they're to have any chance in this game, they have to challenge on that Baron.
Yeah, but they are doing a very smart thing actually as well, where they move in instantly now after the fight to go in and clear the vision from Cloud9. These wards will disappear, the pink ward can be cleared out, so they will regain some control of the jungle. They can at least move there now for the next at least half a minute or 10 seconds before Cloud9 actually moves in and just does the exact same thing, ward it up once again, places down either the trinket or pink ward in this bush so they make sure there's no ward from TBA's side, and just try and do the same thing, bait out the Baron, bait out the fight.
That's exactly what's going to happen. Lemon Nation actually up at the front of that one. He's now got his Leandri's Torment done. One of those sorcery shoes, as we are going to see the ultimate coming out, and actually not straight back from that one. Hai trying to get in onto them. Will they be able to pick up AQs? Actually, all on his own, really, on that top side of the jungle. Is going to try and run away. Balls is coming up from the side. Nice dodge of the grasping roots. That should allow him to back off.
It is an ultimate down. Dr. Mundo doesn't have it in case a fight should break out. It will be a little bit easier to take down without all the health regen from his ultimate. And Cloud9, they're just staying around this Baron area. They really want to have all the vision here. We see the same ward every time onto the red buff, so they can see TPA moving between these bushes up here and around the red buff.
Cloud9 now sat again off to the side. Are we going to see Baron started off? Yes, we are. It is going to be Sneaky and Balls to get that one going. Meteos, Lemon Nation both stood on that front side. We've got basically 3 of them trying to zone out TPA this time around. 2 not enough last time. There is the bomb, which is only going to help that Baron go down. Surely we are going to see the knock up in there. The Inter goes down, blown to pieces by Hai. Then they jump on towards Jay. That gives a recess to Meteos. Not sure he'll be able to finish off Aki on his own. Lemon Nation starts coming up. Ulti is available there for Aki. He's regenerating pretty fast from this one, but he's going to be chased down. Lands a good cleaver on towards Meteos, who jumps in on top of him. There is Baby from the side. They may be able to turn this one around, at least force Cloud9 away. In the end, Sneaky did pick up Morning in the mid lane as well. Baron was still not taken.
But they can go down to the Baron now. There's only 2 members alive from TBA. Once again, baiting out the Baron. He had actually started with 2 members, but the rest of Cloud9 were just standing on the right side of Baron, having TBA running in. Wukong instantly died. Ultimate from Zyra, and obviously the burst from Hai. He's dead, he's gone. And now they should be able to pick this one up. It's only Ezreal nearby here. Will? He doesn't have his ultimate, so let's see what he can actually do.
Let's see. He can land. Basically, there's going to be a queue going through there. We do see Mundo coming in there as well. Baron very, very low. He's going to be picked up by Cloud9. This should be a couple of kills for them. Baby destroyed by Meteos. They move on towards Aki. There is Hai as well. And it will, in fact, be a double kill in the end for Meteos.
Double kill to Meteos. We have the Baron buff. Sneaky is staying up here. He can get a lot of damage on this turret. Nope. No, actually, he gets killed.
Yep, kills it. That's about as much damage as you really need, to be honest. And obviously with that Bloodthirst, a Phantom Dancer, Last Whisper, and another BF sword in there, he's healing himself back up to safety if any damage does come down.
And the bot lane is pushing up for Cloud9. They have a very big minion wave coming here, so they can get this turret, can go towards the inhibitor, and everything is just looking so good for them.
Moving in on towards that inhibitor, shredded to pieces, as well as Hai goes in on towards Jay. Doesn't follow through there with that full combo, but this is 2 inhibitors down now for Cloud9.
Baron buff, 2 inhibitors down. You have Kha'Zix, who's been getting the right items. He's got double kill just before. He's very, very strong. Of course, you have LeBlanc with 6 kills. While Renekton is going to fall off, he's not going to fall off when you're this far ahead, because he's still very, very good. He just doesn't scale the same way as something like a Dr. Mundo. But at this point in the game, because Cloud9 is so far ahead, he's still very, very strong and doing a very good job. And of course, Caitlyn. Late game Caitlyn, very, very annoying to deal with. Such a good late game champion.
Yeah, actually Balls has 5,000 gold more than at this point.
Then you don't really care about being outscaled.
Yeah,
then.
scaling doesn't matter too much when you've got that kind of extra money in your pocket. There's a red buff for Baby. We just actually saw the blue buff going over on towards Hai. He's going to be pushing out that top lane, which is the only lane still with inhibitor turret and inhibitor remaining.
So let's see here. Sneaky, he's gonna pick up his red buff, of course. Bolt and him gonna join the team up here. Will they just go 5 members down to the turret, or will they actually try and do the same thing here where they walk into the jungle of TPA trying to catch someone out? But look what they're doing here. 3 members in this bush. They checked with the sweeping lens. There was no ward. They're waiting for someone for Cloud9 to move up here and push this minion wave.
Well, High's pretty smart. You can see waiting back from this one.
High basically knows there's only one way for TPA to come back in the game. That's catching someone out here. Now the rest of Cloud9 is coming up.
Oh, counterplay coming in there. It's the ace in the hole. Baby actually does manage to escape from it, but the rest of the team might not be so lucky. There is a Cyclone and Tibbers coming down. That's only going to be prevention at this point, though. Nothing about kills, but just stopping them from dying.
And still, we have ultimate on Renekton. Still, we have ultimate on Elimination. Cloud9 will stay here. They will get this turret down because TPA have to constantly go back and clear this minion wave. Meanwhile, look at Cloud9. It's going straight for the turret.
They're going to throw everything that they've got at him at this point. And actually, they're going in for Mundo. Meteor's now unstoppable. Gets the reset. He's got a Guardian Angel, so he doesn't care about going down from this one. Balls is at the front as well. Can they get the stun down onto him? No, they can't. Well, they get the inhibitor. All 3 now down in favor of Cloud9. They're going to go for the win. First Nexus turret goes down to the minions. Second one will be picked off by the rest of the team, and now they focus on towards the Nexus itself. Actually may pick up more kills as they go. No, they won't. It doesn't matter. Nexus goes down. Cloud9 top Group B.
Damn you, Apple Pie. You're looking very, very good. Us Europeans, we have to be really jealous of Cloud9 at the moment.
Well, we've just seen it from them. I said it before. TPA absolutely wiped the floor with Gambit. Cloud9 have just wiped the floor with TPA. And
2 games in a row.
Yeah, look,
last game was the same.
Look at TPA there, they almost look confused. What just hit us? We were not expecting them to come out that strong.
Everything in the early game for Cloud9, when they get the small lead, they just use the lead perfectly. Everything they do is the correct move here. Rotating towards top lane, killing Dr. Mundo, putting a lot of pressure mid lane early to make sure Zex doesn't get ahead early and get high, pretty much to win the lane. So he can just roam around and do whatever he wants to. And then they go towards the bot lane, pick up the turret and just move around, waltz into the jungle of TPA and just catch them out.
Well, if we look down the scoreboard here, Balls 5-0 for Meteors 5-0 for 6-1-3 on High. The bottom lane basically provided a ton of assists through that one as well, but maybe even more importantly had such a strong laning phase as well.
Very good laning phase. Of course they had the wave clear, they had the sieging potential, and also we saw when they actually did the Baron, his elimination standing there, landing the snare so High could come in, pick up the kill onto Wukong, and then they could take the Baron afterwards. And yes, the bot lane didn't have to do too much this game because with Philippe Blanc this strong, you have the early game covered more or less. And then obviously Meteors, once he got the items, he picked up everything he needed in team fights. And Balls, again, he was so good. This Renekton 5-0 and 4. Perfect performance by him.
Well, a more than impressive day here for Cloud9, but it's not over yet. They have to come back tomorrow and do it all again in the semi-finals. We're going to head over to the analysis desk, though, where Quickshot, Crepo and Froggen are ready to break down that game.
Thank you very much, guys, and another incredible performance from Cloud9. I think if you look at the entire team, once again, strong lane, strong gank, strong rotations. We were questioning some of the picks, maybe the Zyra. We're talking about the effectiveness of elimination on their particular champion. Maybe, it could be made. The one thing I do want to highlight is just how well High played on LeBlanc against Morning Ziggs. We seen a little bit earlier today, Alex and Karthus got destroyed in that matchup, and it just didn't feel like High was under any real pressure.
And this is where we see that TPA was capitalizing on mistakes that Gambit were making, but Cloud9 was reading them like a book. They knew every time Dinter was coming, they just knew it. And at the same time they were prepared to lane really well. I'm not a big fan of the Zyra pick, honestly. I feel Elimination played her well. I feel he harassed in lane and he got everything he needed and he got his GP10 taken. And the Annie didn't really combat them well enough, but I just feel Zyra is a pick where eventually you'll just get blown up by 2 CCs without even popping your ulti or just popping it suboptimally, which happened a lot. But doesn't matter when you're Cloud9 because the rest of your lanes are just going to carry.
Yeah, I think especially with Zyra, I think she was like 27 minutes into the game where she had no kills, no assists, and 100% death participation. So she didn't have too much impact. I think Balls and High with Meteors was playing extremely well in yet another game. Like every single time, once Balls is about to hit level 6, you see High, you see Meteors, they coordinated Pink Warden mid, They know, is it worth it whenever we try to roam? No, it's not. Okay, we're going to go for the roam. We're going to go for the red buff and wait. One of those two options. And in these 2 games, they made it work every single time.
And it was like the signature Cloud9. When we were ahead, we will completely vision choke you type of play. They had 3 pink wards up, one of them. Probably survived the entire length of the game.
Yeah.
Maybe until the Baron phase.
What was he saying? 5 minutes?
At 5:20, the pink ward in mid went down, and it wasn't cleaned for the entire game.
So how many minutes is that?
That's too many minutes.
32 minutes on the clock.
Actually, 21 minutes and 58 seconds.
We're doing math here. Anyways, they play really well. Like, they put these line of defensive pink wards out, and then they just ward up the next line. So they have they see them coming, and so they can defend their pink wards. And at the same time, they have 2 rows of vision, and they just exploit that so well. Meteos has really good reads on the game, and whenever you give Meteos enough information, he knows where to go. If you put balls in the top lane, he's so solid. If he loses his lane, it's by a margin. If he wins his lane, it's by a slightly bigger margin. And then Meteos, and if he's not doing that already, Meteos and High will just show up and just completely dominate.
I love the synergy between High and Meteor specifically, because we actually saw for a large portion of the game, High was trying to roam all the time. He was like at 80 or 90 CS at 16-minute mark, while Meteors was sitting mid. He was picking up all the farm versus the 6 that was like under-farmed. So High was getting the kill onto Wukong when Wukong was level 7. He didn't go back to the mid lane and try to pressure the turret. He went straight to bottom lane, forced bottom lane away, and they got a free turret while Meteors was farming free in the mid lane.
So this is 2 games back-to-back where we've seen Cloud9 making very positive moves all across the map. Let's say led by Meteos. I feel that his ganks have been very instrumental in getting their lanes going.
Or just his holds. He takes over. Like, there's just good communication. Yeah, he ganks very well. At the same time, he holds mid when he needs to, and High just roams out.
So what about TPA? I mean, you know, in comparison, they destroyed Gambit. They had phenomenal rotations. They had phenomenal lanes. What happened now?
It was after there was an advantage, you know. TPA snowballed an advantage in a really textbook style, but there was no jungle pressure from coming out of Eve, Diamond's Eve there. But this game, Meteos had enough jungle pressure. Plus, Balls was playing Renekton, which is really hard to out-pressure because he's the prime top pick right now, which is so tanky, dives really well, hardly gets dove. There was no lane stops going on either. There were no shenanigans. Cloud9 was just in full control of this game, and they just showed why they're a top-tier team in a top-tier region.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing very, very well. They are the second semi-finalist that has qualified, along with the KT Rolls to Bullet, so we'll be seeing more of them tomorrow. What can TPA take away from this game? How do we see the performance after 2 matches, knowing they have to come in tomorrow and they have to face the winner of 1 more game? I mean, they're not out of the woods yet.
For the T9 game, what they can take away from it, I think they should maybe drop the Ezreal pick since Lucian was open, and Lucian is I think Lucian has more damage if they actually lane swap and they try to dive. They had Annie already secured, which is really good in lane swaps, secure stun. They could possibly have been going for Lee Sin. Lee Sin can detect the Kha'Zix and the LeBlanc pick, so it's really, really strong just in that setup, but also for the dives. And if they had Lucian as well, he would scale pretty well with Caitlyn into the late game, which would leave High versus Morning in the mid matchup. And Morning actually went for Ignite, but was playing extremely passive in the lane. I'm not sure why he was, because versus Alex X, we saw him play extremely aggressive. And I think that's actually something we should highlight a bit more, because versus Alex, he was not afraid of Evelynn ganking him. He was not afraid of walking into lane waste. He just went at it. Versus High, he got hit by pretty much every single skill shot because he was afraid of High. And I think that's a big point.
Yeah, it's definitely psychological questions that you have to be raising. We'll see what TPA do when they go back to the drawing board. Guys, thank you very much for that one. We are going to start to wrap up the proceedings here today. Kicking this one off, let's take a look at the 2 groups that have played through the games today, starting with Group A. As you can see, going all the way through the bracket, KTB is the first team to advance to semifinals. Tomorrow, it will be IG versus Fnatic, a rematch from the very first game here at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship, and we'll find out who will be the second team to advance to the semi-finals. Let's take another quick look at Group B this time round. We've wrapped up all but the losers game thus far. We have had to cancel or move 1 game to tomorrow. You can see Cloud9 2-0 on the day. They are the first team from Group B in the semi-finals. It will be TPA versus either Gambit or World Elite, whoever wins that matchup. Now, Gambit will take on World Elite tomorrow at 12 o'clock Central European time. That is lunchtime tomorrow in about 13 or so hours. The one thing I do want to remind you guys for at home is join us on Facebook, join us on Twitter, facebook.com/IEM. If you're on Twitter, use the hashtag IEM, and of course go to eslgaming.com, click on the Katowice link. That's where we've got the votes, we've got the polls. You can get involved and share some time with us. We are going to start doing the MVP polls tomorrow, so make sure you guys think about who you feel deserves that title. We're about to go to Shocks on stage, who has an interview with Sneaky lined up, but I do want to say thank you very much to both Crepo and Froggen at the desk. Mad props to, of course, to Fisher, who has been joining us throughout the day. So thank you very much, guys. And Shocks, let's see what Sneaky has to say about going 2-0 and being the first LCS team into the playoffs.
Thank you very much. Quick shot indeed. I am joined here by Sneaky, the first LCS team to make it into the playoffs. Very impressive. And I got to say, once again, a very impressive performance, as was game one for you guys. How do you think you took control of this game versus TPA?
Versus TPA, it kind of just started from the beginning. I was doing really well bottom. Mid lane was going in our favor, and top lane we had Renekton. So we all had basically just winning lanes, and it kind of just snowballed from there.
Tell me a little bit about your bottom lane. Caitlyn, Zyra, not something we see that often anymore.
Zyra is kind of a better support now because of the new spell sleeves. She has like a lot more damage and free gold, basically. The Caitlyn Zyra lane is very good for surviving, although Lemon did die to like a few flash ganks from Annie Wukong. Besides that, I think our bot lanes go about even between Ezreal Annie and Caitlyn Zyra.
I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Hai before. It seems to be going very easy for you guys in these matchups. How much of that did you expect? Because you don't really know that much about these teams.
We didn't really expect to just do so well. We kind of expected to have a very hard match, but I guess it's really great for us to, just come through and perform really well.
Yeah, and it must be cool to have some international experience under your belt going into the rest of the season. Is there something specific you've learned or taken from the bottom lane matchups you had today?
The first game was kind of decided by the early flash that he had to use, so that one was supposed to be like a lot more dumpster to me because I'm Sivir and Caitlyn is the like complete counter to Sivir. So if they didn't blow that flash, then it would have been a lot worse for us.
So you guys have obviously gone through to the playoffs and you played the teams that are in Group B, all two of them. Who do you think will advance? We've got WELF, TPA, and Gambit. Who do you think will make it through?
I think Gambit because they've seemed to win every IEM, so they'll come up and win the entire tournament.
All right, and last question, how are you enjoying it here in Poland and this amazing stadium?
Well, it's kind of empty right now, but it's pretty sweet so far. Huge stadium, lots of fans, and yeah, just been chilling out here for a few days, practicing and getting prepared.
All right, well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you guys here. Very impressive performance. Thank you very much, Sneaky. And we'll see you guys tomorrow, of course. We'll see all of you tomorrow, of course, because it's time for us to sign off. But remember, we'll be back tomorrow at noon Central European Time. That is 12 p.m., so don't go anywhere. Or, come back tomorrow.